Patrick Williams is an enigma. He was one of the players I was very excited to see last year. He showed flashes of development on offense, and his physical tools already made him a very versatile defender. He showed why he was being called the next Kawhi Leonard during the Summer League last year. 1 year later though, things did not go well for Pat or the Chicago Bulls. So I want to talk about why the Bulls' fate now rests on whether Patrick Williams has taken that next step this coming season. Before we get into it, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy the video. If you're a Bulls fan, subscribe now, show your support. Let's dive into it. Patrick Williams was the number 4 pick in the 2020 NBA draft, and Williams showed flashes in almost 28 minutes per game as a rookie. Fans were hoping he would take a big leap in 2021-22 as one of the few rotation players on the Bulls with size and athleticism. Instead, Williams suffered the freaky wrist injury just 5 games into the season, which set his development and the Bulls back. Now let's talk about why the Bulls believe in him. Pat Williams is a 6'7" player with huge hands. That's why his nickname is called the Paw. He's got tree trunk legs, and all that length and strength gives him an impressive two-way skill set that just needs to be fine-tuned. The Kawhi Leonard comparisons are a bit much, but you can see a sort of a poor man's Kawhi in there. If you're a Bulls fan, good news is the organization seems to believe in him and his potential. This became more clear during the trade deadline last year and during this past offseason. The Bulls reportedly weren't willing to trade Pat Will for a more proven power forward like Jeremy Grant. They also were unwilling to include him in a trade for a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert. Let's talk about what Pat Will does well on offense now. He showed flashes of greatness when he returned from injury at the tail end of the regular season, and then again showed those flashes of his potential. He scored in double digits in 5 of the last 6 regular season games, which includes a 35-point game against the Timberwolves in the last game of the season. He also scored 20-plus points in the last 2 games against the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round of the playoffs.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Lois, this is not my Batman class.
I do want to pump the brakes on the hype of those games. Those 35 points came against the Timberwolves backups in a game that really meant nothing. Those last 2 games against the Bucks came after a 0 for 9 shooting performance in Game 3 and were in total blowouts where Williams was barely being guarded. One big question right now is if Pat has the mentality to consistently put his imprint on games. I've seen it happen way too often where he often fades off into the background and you don't notice his presence on the court. This is mainly on offense, but that's exactly where he needs to develop, and it's also what the Bulls need from him as well. While some of this so far can be explained by his youth, his role, his injury history, he has to show us that he can make his mark as a high-level role player, and hopefully in the future, he can be more than just a reliable role player. Patrick Williams has proven he can knock down open threes. He's a career 41% shooter from 3, but he has to be more willing to let them fly. He only takes under 2 attempts in 27 minutes per game. He also has to speed up his release. Once opponents actually respect his outside shot, it's going to unlock a lot of freedom for him on offense. He already has counters to beat closeouts and attack the rim at times, or he can also use his pretty decent mid-range game. Defensively, Pat Will has already taken on the toughest matchups in the league. He has a share of highlight reel defensive plays, but there's still plenty of room for improvement. Getting stronger and improving his reading of the game, his team defense IQ, will make him one of the best defenders in the league, similar to a Mikal Bridges, Kawhi, or an OG Anunoby in Toronto. Defensively, his ceiling is super high, and I want the Bulls to get him to that point on that side of the court. One major development for him and the Bulls would be being able to play the small ball 5 effectively. The Bulls need more versatility with their lineups, especially on defense. Vucevic has a history of getting exploited on defense in the regular season and in the playoffs. Throwing out a lineup with Patrick Williams as your switchable small ball 5-man that can also hopefully stretch the floor would elevate this Bulls team's ceiling. Now let's talk about how the Bulls can help his development. The Bulls do have to do their part to help Pat Will develop and actually fulfill his potential one day. The main way the coaching staff can help is by giving him more ball handling reps. Granted, he has only played a total of 93 games in his entire career, including the playoffs. but the ball handling reps won't come as often when playing with the starters. But giving Pat Will more freedom with bench units is something that Billy Donovan has to try out this season. Even if Williams is primarily used as a floor spacer, they need to experiment and be creative with other parts of his game so he can actually get reps and become consistent at getting to his spots and getting the shot off. If Williams is able to make that leap, that gives the Bulls an exciting new ceiling. It wouldn't be a title-winning ceiling, at least just not yet, but Pat Will actually becoming a guy would be a game changer for the franchise, especially with the Eastern Conference continuing to improve around them. The Cleveland Cavaliers trading for Donovan Mitchell only complicates the situation for Chicago, especially since they play the Cavs 4 times a season. But I'm still very high on Pat Williams. His injuries have been freak accidents and nothing I think is gonna go into the future. If he can unlock his offensive scorer's mentality, develop that outside shot, and work with the Bulls coaches to put him in situations to succeed, the Bulls could take that next step into the tier of teams legitimately competing for a championship. And that's why the development of Patrick Williams will decide the fate of the Chicago Bulls. That's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe so you know when new videos drop. And let me know in the comments what you think of Pat Williams' expectations, what they should be going into next season. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.